Rainier Valley Historical Society's mission is to collect. Our boundaries are from Dearborn Street to Seattle city limits and from I-5 to Lake Washington.
My name is Dora Abney. I'm originally from Texas. I moved to Seattle in the early 60s. My background is that I am a family of 16 sisters and brothers. I have 10 sisters died years and years ago when I was young.
It's one, huh?
I have many, many god babies and many, many children from twins.
Yeah.
I started working at Twins in 1986. I have been in the office over 67 kids, but I have 68 on roll permanently.
Ask you one more question before. What did you came here as a child then?
Yes.
So, do you know why your family decided to move here?
Oh, I came up when my father died, and then I have an uncle, his brother. And for some reason, my mother decided.
Did you live?
My dad died in Washington State. He was working here. We was on our way up there in a way. So after he died.
Did you live in this neighborhood or?
No, I live in the central area. All of my life.
So how has it changed around here since you lived here?
Oh, when I say it just grew so fast, like overnight. I mean, I know some parts of Martin Luther King there was no homes. It was just bushes and trees and wetlands. There was in the central area. We had lots of places to play and run around, but now you can't believe it because of all the condos and new houses and stuff that took over. And when I was living close, I used to live on 16th and Yesler. We used to walk downtown and back beat the bus. I said beating the bus. So, because the bus be running so slow. But it had really changed. And I watched South Center be developed. I watched the freeway, I-5 being developed. I watched Bowings Field being developed. So being in the South End, I've seen a lot changes, lots of changes. Several new schools went up. Like South Shore was one of the new schools that I watched it up, and that's where my son went to school. Rainier Beach School changed. It's a lot I've seen. Stores changed their name to name like QFC. Used to be Big Bear, Lucky's, like several different names through the years. So things have really changed. Used to be one lane Rainier, now it's two. Changed Martin Luther King used to be called the Empire Way. So
Can you remember when that changed?
I think it changed around in the 80s when they made the permanent changes from the name after Dr. King died. It took a while before they changed the name. I watched the stadium being built. I watched the stadium tore down.
That's right.
I watched the various stadium go up. I watched it go down. I see most of all downtown develop. When I first came here, the tallest building was the Smith Tower. And the space needle. So now you wouldn't believe it, like the shortest of all of them. So I've watched a lot of the downtown development. I watched the waterfront changes, a lot of changes on the waterfront. Even in the youth district, I've seen a lot of the different hospital changes they had on to it. Used to be about 20 hospitals. I think we're down to maybe about 15 or 10 now, major hospitals. So I watched Swedish develop. So I've seen quite a bit. And I used to work with that field. So in my prior job, I've seen a lot of changes in the medical field too. That's what I always say.
Okay. About Juneteenth.
What I remember about Juneteenth is mostly my dad. My dad died when I was about 11. But we used to celebrate it every summer. And to me, it was a joyful thing because we could celebrate something big, like before Christmas. And then Christmas was like bigger. You know, at Christmas time, you got gifts. At this time, it was just like fun time. You know, it was hot. And I just remember how my dad used to say, Juneteenth, that's a big thing for us. And I mean, by being born in the South, I kind of understood what he was saying, kind of understood what was going on, but didn't really understand why. And so as I got older, it was more explained to me because my dad worked on the railroad, so he was always traveling a lot with, dealing with the railroad and stuff. So we really didn't get to idea what it was from. I got an idea that it was for freedom, but the history behind it was really, really not told because it's a sad situation what it really happened. But he will always go out and shop like it's Christmas, and he would buy just food, picnic stuff, and we would be out whether it fell on a Sunday or Monday. It was a holiday to us, and everybody in the neighborhood, everybody in the city took off. And
Which city was it?
well, I was from Marshall, Texas,
Mm-hmm.
and it seemed like the whole city was shut down, and we would picnic away. And that's today, I think it still is considered a holiday, you know. So
Was it mostly African American town?
African American town, yes. Well, no, because we lived in a town where it's both races. And what happened was it just shut down. In Texas in those days, they had like a blue law. They wouldn't sell anything like meat, certain things, certain time of the day at 6 o'clock. Everything was shut down. Sunday you couldn't buy certain food like fresh meat, clothing, stuff like that. You make people want to pick up. I don't even understand. Like I said, I want to look up the blue law reason again, but it's called the blue law. And I think when I first came to Seattle, they had the blue law going here too, where you couldn't buy fresh meat, clothing at a certain time during the day. I mean weekends on Sundays, or in I think at 6 o'clock. But again, it needs to be looked up into. But my father, for one thing about it, he would always sing, and that was just like a day. He would play ball. He was just excited. I mean, just all the men that I can recognize this day they played ball. We picnic. I don't know how you explain it. I guess some people say like the 4th of July, but see, the 4th of July is like, it was okay, but I think this was more better because it's a holiday too, but I don't know what about this particular day was more exciting for my father. That's what I'm saying, my father. But now I recognize why, because from reading and observing what's, some of the past, that was a day they considered freedom. And I guess whether it was his dad, it was passed down. They understood what it meant and what that day was meaningful to them. And when we came to Washington State, it kind of faded out of the family. People didn't celebrate because I was wondering, nobody's off for Juneteenth. I wanted to be off,
Yeah, yeah.
And they said, what do you mean Juneteenth? That's about. And I was explaining to them what we used to take off for, and they said, we don't celebrate that, so I figured I'd let it slide. And then about 4 years ago, when I started the daycare center, I brought it up again. I said, we need to celebrate Juneteenth. The kids don't even know what it's about. So the 1999 or 2000, we had a Juneteenth celebration at Twinsville. We blocked off the street and we sold barbecue and the kids played again. It was exciting. It took us 2 months to get together, but it was very exciting again. Everybody, I said Juneteenth, and they're like, to me, everybody blossomed. It was because, I didn't know people knew about it. And then all of a sudden, everybody did know. Why you don't hear about it. And all of a sudden, yeah, I remember that. I heard about that. What is it about? So we start digging up information so we can put it out so people understand what it is. But some parts of the state of Washington now recognize it. Some of the organizations I see do recognize it. The Black Heritage, they recognize it. And some of the other outlets, like the Central area, a lot of people in the Central area recognize it. And now people celebrate it sometimes 3 to 4 days, 2 weekends or whatever. I'm just observing this. So we did put it on, and it was successful. Then last year, I called myself exhausted from the year before. So I didn't put it on this year. I was going to put it on in 2002, but to get the permits and everything, I was kind of late getting them. So, but then the city did say, well, maybe go ahead and send them in at the last minute. We're going to do it. And I said, oh, no, it's too much because I wanted to be big. So I took this information to a meeting, the Rainier Valley meeting at Seas. And I guess Karen remembered it, and she came over and asked me about it. And I told her we weren't going to celebrate this year. So this is how we ended up there. But again, like I say, it's a thing that my dad did. All I can remember is that we packed up and we went to the baseball field. We walked or whatever, it's every year would be somewhere different. And we would just celebrate, and the men's and the women's would just dance. The kids would kind of like look So, we didn't know. They explained the basic, but we didn't know. So to them, because they lived the life, they understood it. So now I'm trying to feed that little knowledge that I know to the other children, not only just Black, to everyone, to understand that it's freedom. And I was explaining to some of my staff members today about, the Ethiopians and the Somalis, and over in Jerusalem, and I've been to Jerusalem and Cairo and all those places in my life, and they're fighting. And I said, sooner or later, when they say the fighting is over with, you still have freedom to do it. Right now, a lot of those countries, people are running from different countries. They consider slavery, or they consider something. So eventually, it may not be called Juneteenth. It may be called some other day, because I guess this is the day that we receive the information. Theirs may be called August 10th, or, I don't know, April 5th or something like that. But I assume whatever, that once people get their freedom, our war is over with. It becomes history, and people celebrate that. So all these dates that we do celebrate right now is from some results of something. So Juneteenth is one of the ones that, as Black, that's what we celebrate, Juneteenth. It's pretty, Juneteenth.
Yeah.
Which is June 19th, So that's about all I know.
Well, that's great.
I don't
Thank you
know
so
if
much.
you
We will. Wait, can I ask you one more thing?
Uh-huh.
I was just thinking about, this must have been when you were a kid in the late 50s, early 60s in the South. And it must have been, was it segregated in Texas?
Oh, yes.
So,
Yeah,
how did that fit in with your understanding of Juneteenth?
Well, see, for one thing, when I went to school in the South, I was in an all-Black school. But we had an option to go to a segregated school. But because where I live, and the buses really wasn't segregated to the late 60s, we kind of just stuck with, the Black school in the neighborhood. But I could have went to a segregated school. All this changes from 62, I guess I'll say from the time that the park did the bus thing, and then Martin Luther King, things kind of mellowed down, but it was gradually coming along a little bit at a time. But after they did what their part was, then it kind of opened up more segregation. But mainly it was, the neighborhood I lived in was semi-Black and white. We always say, the low of the white. They're over the track. But, it's not a discrimination remark. I just don't face it like that. But they live there. Rich and the famous, we're among all of them. So, in my neighborhood.
So, was there any kind of connection in your mind or in the celebration itself between the end of?
It's pretty much the same. Only thing with the Juneteenth celebration is that it was with the war, during the wartime, and we were bought as slavery, from my understanding. We were slaves from the beginning, and that's what ended that part, to say that no man should buy another person for his own as he birthed it. So that's what the slavery part come in. The segregation part is that, can you go into a building with white, or can you go into this? So those are two different stories altogether.
Yeah.
So in a way,
but they seem like they're both part of being
part
free.
of it is. After we got to be free, the people still didn't want it.
Right.
So that's why the segregation came in. See, we was free in 1865.
Right.
But 1965, we were still bonded.
Exactly.
So they were like, you can't tell me what to do. I own you. You is my slave.
Right.
And that's what that came in. We were still being bonded down after 100 years or so.
Yeah.
So instead of saying still in slavery, they call it
segregation.
Yeah.
Jim Crow. Or
yeah.
Yeah.
Bills of rights and all that stuff came into part.
Yeah.
So we still bonded. There's some countries, like I say, it still feel the same. Still the same. People still don't get it. And it's always an inherited thing or mind thing until you really, really know. And some people just don't want to know because it's just buried in the genes. Authority. But, and I think it was much of a difference. They were fighting, and the war was against the South, North and the South and the North were fighting, and it was a mess in the 40s early 50s, late like 48 to like 58. It was really tough still. And I've heard that you still go in some places. I don't know if it's considered as part of history, but some stores still have black go in the back, white go in the front, or black eat here, white eat here. Now they say that still existed in some parts of it, the South, and some little very cities that ain't.
Well, he hasn't got the news yet.
Haven't got the news yet. And I just imagine all those people that she ain't nobody living since 1865. They ought to be too. That's the reason I said because it happened over 100-something years ago, it ought to be all cleared out. But I think it's hereditary, or it's something that people won't let go.
Yeah.
You know, they won't let go. They still think it's there, but they need to let go. So I don't know what's going to happen in the next 10 or 15 or 20 years from now. But so far, people now can protest, and they got a better court system, and people don't take a lot of stuff they probably used to take because they were scared to. Because I understand too, in that particular movement, they allowed the blacks to learn to read or write. And I always think that we are the smartest on the earth because of the invention things that we invented. We might have lost it because we couldn't read, we couldn't write. But there was a lot of stuff that we did invent. And I always say, like Martin Luther King, I'll say, the mind is a terrible thing to waste. And so we don't waste it. And listen to 60 Minutes a couple of weeks ago, a month or two, he was saying it haven't been anything invented in 50 years. There's been things updated with the invention, like typewriters, like the computer, you know. So it's nothing been invented. Keyboard is piano and the organ. So nothing been really invented in 50 years. Things been improved from what they invented, but nothing been invented. So we're losing because people are not thinking; they just adding what we already have. I don't know.
That's really good.
I'm just talking about really, you know. But, you know, and then I asked my mother. My mother's birthday is coming up this Sunday, June 23rd. And she'll be in her late 80s. And I was asking her something about it. And she said, well, you saying the same thing? She said, yeah. And her mother and stuff, she raised her sister and brother because during that time, you know, people got killed and families got separated. So, you know, like I could have 5 sisters and brothers. I mean, uncles and aunts, great uncles and aunts. And I don't know because they separated them for slavery reasons. So you don't know who your family is, you know. So she just said that's one of the things that after the slavery thing was people was trying to go find family members that couldn't find them. You know, so we've lost a lot of family members because of slavery. You know, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles. So we don't know who we are in some cases. I mean, we know this generation, we don't know past generation. So that's the only thing she said that part of the program that they kind of hated because her family, that's what she said her family told her. They don't know, you know, her great-grandmother don't know who some of her sisters and brothers are where they once they were sold to slavery, what happened with some of them. So it's a touching those situations. And I myself don't even like to look at stuff like desegregation and the slavery picture. It's not that I get mad. I take it back. I don't mind seeing them when they first brought them from Africa, like on the ship. But after they treated them on the ship, bringing them in, I get depressed about it. But I turned it off. TV. Because it's depressing. Like, who are you? Just get honest people. Didn't want to do none of the working and bring them somewhere and force them to work more. And then don't know them and misuse them. So that's about it.
Okay. No, that's all I have.
It's not, you know, like I said, you turn it on now. Okay. Is it off?
No, it's on. Now I'm turning it off.
It represents the blood that was shared. The red velvet cake, ice cream, watermelon, and whatever else, chicken, barbecue, everything like barbecue ribs. The blood was really rolling. You know, that's what it represents. Yeah. The blood that people shared for slavery. And the war, see, was for the war plus slavery. So it was tough. But we enjoyed it, you know. To get a block of ice and beat it down and then make your ice cream with it on them.
Yeah, one of those crank things.
Yeah. Look at our ice cream
Somebody
right
has to
there
sit
with
on
the
it.
salt and stuff.
Yeah.
And but everybody participated. Corn on the cob, and everything was fresh because June is at the end of the harvest for the South. See, up here we just started in ours. See what I'm
Because
saying?
I always wondered, or somebody was referring to it as a harvest festival, but today when we were talking to the women, it's like harvest festival. It's June,
Yeah, well, see,
but you're right.
The
In the
garden like
South,
March
it's
and April,
different.
May,
Yeah.
and June. They harvest because it get too hot after June. Everything
Yeah.
burn up. From
Yeah.
July to August, everything is on fire down there because of the heat. So, and the kids we get out of school down there May because it be so hot.
Right.
And they have to do the garden up here where people pick the apples and all that stuff, like in August and late July, early August in Yakima, because it's supposed to get hot in August. So, and that's why we went to school early, and we get out early because of the season, you know. And that's why they only go to school for 9 months. Because May, after Easter, they turn over the soil, they plant the seed, and then by June, everything's ready to be harvested and ready to sell. And then the rest of the 2 months is smoking hot. It's hot. So we would have corn on the cob, and everything was fresh. Fresh everything, or nothing pretty much like it is now. Fresh everything. Fresh chicken out the yard, fresh chicken off the farm, and cooked barbecue, ribs, pig. They'll be baking. None of the men, see that we don't see that now. The Hawaiians does it. People from Hawaii, Samoans. See, they celebrate as family. The men take over and do, but you don't see that. Do you see it now? Where a group of men, family people get together, a whole community, and cook. You don't hardly see that anymore.
With the men doing it.
The men doing it because they would do the whole work.
And what did the women do?
So they probably bake the pies or cakes, and they just come out because they set it all up, everything. Tubs of corn, bake a pig in the ground, cook it all night. Whatever they do. When I see it coming up, because it'd be dangerous. They wouldn't let us be around.
Right.
And then they'll put on a fire and a half, just the ribs and stuff be on them rods hanging over fire. It's not like what they do now, a grill.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And they would just hang it, and they would cook it, roll it over, and right there while we fresh. And so I assume that the women made was cake and pies, and then the rest of it the men did. Because we have to do the ice cream and tons of pop and stuff like that. But they made it. So neat.
All right.
Like a flashback.
Yeah.
It is. It's too bad you don't know they didn't have videos and stuff.
Right. I'd love to see that.
I don't think people too much. I don't know. Like I said, I'm going home this summer. Not I would go home in March, and I'm gonna see what I can find in some of the archives of family history back there. I know we don't have anything. My home burned down twice, so everything was destroyed. But some of the senior citizens, my mother's friends, I'm still living as ancestors. They got pictures. What's that picture about? You see stuff you want to know what it's about. Well, you took that picture. It's the black and white, but you want to know. I go and I be looking all on all of these antique pictures and how they dress and stuff like that. So I'll go back this time and I'm gonna ask questions.
Okay.
And bring some stuff back or take pictures of it.
Yeah.
But now you can do it.
Yeah.
What is it? Walgreens or some Walmart or Walgreens and get it done while you're standing there.
Yeah.
For $2.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll do something like that and I have some history stuff because I don't have any. We don't have. I told my mother because of the home burning, we don't have any background of ourselves. Everything was destroyed. And nobody think about rebuilding it up.
Right. Yeah.
You don't.
Yeah.
You didn't think of the sadness, but not rebuilding it back up.
Yep.
That's it. Turn that thing.
Okay. I'm sorry.